At first, I understood why people listen to Bigtree. He sounds confident, charismatic, and people like him. And when someone speaks with that much certainty, it's easier to believe them. But over time, I started paying closer attention to him, the actual statements, and the patterns started becoming impossible to ignore. Now, let me be clear right up front. This isn't about blind hate. I'm not asking you to attack Bigtree, and I'm definitely not telling you what to think. What I am asking you to do is recognize patterns and inconsistencies, because over time, patterns tell you more than one emotional speech, more than one viral clip, and more than one big claim ever could. When somebody with influence says things that don't feel right in your gut, that's telling you something.
I'm curious to know if you've ever been paid or received funds from any pharmaceutical company.
Have I ever been paid or received funds from a pharmaceutical company? Yes. Not directly. I suppose when I worked on the Doctor's television show, that show definitely was funded by the pharmaceutical industry. So I received a salary from CBS, and more specifically, Stage 29 Productions, that created the show. That's under that, it started with the Dr. Phil show where I worked first. Bobby Kennedy once, I was talking to him, and he's been accused of taking money from Exxon, I think, or someone like that, someone that would be obviously opposed to the environmental work he was doing. And he said to me, why wouldn't I take that money? I mean, why would I not? Like, somehow, like, you see the work I'm doing, I'm fighting them in court. If for some reason they decide to hand me money that I can use to
against them,
I'll right. Take it. So, I don't know if, Merck said, we'll give you $5 million to fight us.
That'd be great.
I might be in a quandary there. I doubt that's going to happen. So anyway, next.
Now, maybe the first time you hear something like that, you brush it off. Maybe you think it was taken out of context. Maybe you assume there's more to the story.
I'm going to scare the hell out of my staff right now and just jump into a thought that just occurred to me, because I know while we're talking about gain of function, we're talking about lab leaks, there's this little group of people out there that keep talking about terrain theory and germ theory and this conversation that many of you may not even understand. But I just want to say this. We are going to get into those conversations further down the road with some of the people out there. But if what you want is to remove the idea that any of this ever existed, that any of this ever happened, then what you're saying is you want Tony Fauci to walk off scot-free. You want all these liars that lied to us and locked us down to get away with this by saying, oh, the germ never existed, it was never there, when clearly the science is turning on them. Their own science is turning on them. And right at the moment where we are going to move into indictments and take these people out, what some of you out there want to do is let's just change the conversation altogether and let these criminals that destroyed our lives walk off into the sunset. I don't understand it. I don't understand why that would be your conversation right now. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, just wait. We're going to have this conversation further down the road. All right. Moving on to...
But then you start seeing the same pattern again and again and again. And this is where it gets weird.
I would think when you have a child with autism, or on the spectrum, you have no reference point. You have no, it's, I don't want this to sound wrong, but it's a little bit more like having a dog or a Doberman or something that you don't understand how it thinks. You don't know. I mean, I don't mean to make an animal reference, except that it's
dogs are the same. Well,
it's outside of the category. You don't have their brain.
Right.
Or you hear about stories of people that bring home an exotic, a chimpanzee or something.
And that's where things started changing for me, because it stopped feeling like honest discussion and started feeling like manipulation and emotional persuasion.
I think, or second or third screening, and we were doing Q&As afterwards, and I was seeing this line down the block, and I decided at the very beginning of the Q&A after the film, very powerful film, but people haven't seen it. I mean, if you have any blood in you at all, there's going to be tears rolling down your face. Very incredible to watch the audiences. But I got up and I said, will everyone with a vaccine-injured child that's in the audience right now please stand up? And 3/4 of the room stood up. I mean, it was a room of about 120 people, 90 people all stood up at one time. And I felt like I got punched in the chest. I mean, I knew that there was an issue. I interviewed a dozen people to make the film, but I'm looking at 90 people. And you should have seen the other 20 just like looking the same way I was. Like, is it this big a deal? And what was even more amazing was those people standing looking at each other. And what ended up happening from that film was it started a movement because these people were being told by their doctors that they're crazy.
Yeah.
You are nuts. You should be locked up if you keep pointing to vaccines. And so they've been isolated, dealing with autism in their home. They can't take their kid out. They thought they were all alone. And suddenly in one room, they're all looking at each other. And it ignited a movement. People were coming up to me afterwards saying, this person I just met lives 5 doors down from me. I had no idea they had an autistic child too. Mm-hmm. And that, as a journalist, you realize, and it was every single screening, every single night. I asked that question every night. And I will tell you, Kim, for an entire year, 3/4 of the audience stood up.
And this part really bothers me because this whole video feels like gaslighting. After all the Vaxxed movies, after years of raising legitimate concerns and asking hard questions, suddenly the script gets flipped. And people are left wondering, who is this guy?
Where are the guys my age with autism? Every old folks' home should have 1 in 12.5 men standing in a corner, repetitive motion disorders, not, you know what I mean? Where are they? They don't exist. So it's a lie. It's not genetic. It's not always been here. It's an environmental issue. And so Bobby's going to get to the bottom of it as long as he's there long enough. And as long as people support that work. It's probably a combination of a lot of things, but vaccines, I think, given the amount of eyewitnesses I've interviewed and what we see there, it's going to be a gnashing of teeth, man. This is going to be a horrifying moment as all of this is coming to light now as we speak.